Hello everyone, welcome to SplitSecond. My name is Sequeira and I'll be taking you through today's match. Before starting, we at SplitSecond want to thank everyone for your constant support and suggestions on all social media. We also have a giveaway from the LGS where we play at Arena Porto from Portugal. They were super cool and gave us a DCI promo cryptic command which we will randomly offer one of our patrons on March 15. Not only can you help us grow by becoming a patron, but you also have a chance to get this card for free. This week we're bringing you me piloting my combo brew of the Coinflip duo Zndrsplt and Okaun, with Brandão with his full control vision of Yuriko, Gonçalo Tiago, our guest, friend, and a judge at the LGS Arena Porto, playing a masculine destruction / combo Klothys, and finally, Baal is playing ShaperSavant's version of Elsha. As with Sndrsplt, I don't think I can say my own commander's name right more than once. Let's check our starting hands. Gonçalo is the one starting this time around. He has an easy turn to Klothys thanks to his double forest and the birds of paradise. He can easily piss me and Baal off with Collector Oof, potentially slowing us down. Finally, he can get a turn 3 Garruk Wild Speaker, which could be vital in allowing him to combo off thanks to using Woodland Bellower to search for a Kiki-Jiki tutor and combining that goblin with the Zealous Conscripts. Baal's hand has 2 counterspells, Swan Song and Counterspell. He also has half a combo piece, Dramatic Reversal, and Merchant Scroll, which could be a long-winded way to find another combo piece or just some value. He has 3 lands, Command Tower, Scalding Tarn, and Plateau. He has no ramp. Since I have mulliganed once, I decided to keep this hand even if it's not very fast. I have a Flusterstorm to counter pesky win cons, Goblin Archaeologist to maybe stop someone from getting too much value out of artifacts, and Rhystic Study to fish for a bunch of cards. The rest of my hand is lands, and I have no ramp. Finally, Luis kept a pretty nice hand as usual. He has Mental Misstep, and he has an Ocean Thief that can stop me and Baal from winning with some of our deck's loops. He also has an Artificer's Assistant for a turn 2 ninjutsu Yuriko, a Scheming Symmetry for shenanigans, and 2 lands, Polluted Delta and City of Brass. Before we start, there was a game-breaking mistake that we only spotted later on but couldn't rectify. Can you spot it? At the end of this video, we'll tell you what it was. Gonçalo starts off with a good turn 1, a forest into a Birds of Paradise. He passes to Baal. Baal plays a command tower and passes to me. My play is similar to Baal's. I put an island in play and pass to Luis. Luis plays his Polluted Delta and cracks it immediately for a basic island, playing around potential moon effects. He casts Artificer's Assistance before letting Gonçalo get to his turn. Gonçalo finds and plays a basic mountain. He then checks our graves for cards, sees a Polluted Delta in Luis's graveyard, and decides to cast Klothys before passing to Baal. Baal plays conservatively. He puts a Scalding Tarn in play and lets me get to business. I put my freshly drawn Volcanic Island in play. Then, I tap out and cast Goblin Archaeologist, letting everyone bask in the card's text. On my end step, Baal cracks his Scalding Tarn for a basic island. Luis plays a City of Brass and goes to combat. He attacks Baal with his Artificer's Assistant. Because it's unblocked, he can put Yuriko in play with ninjutsu, losing life to the City of Brass and return the assistant back to his hand. He reveals an Hypnotic Siren to Yuriko's trigger and we all lose 1 life. To avoid discarding, Luis plays an Ornithopter and passes. During his pre-combat main phase, Gonçalo removes the Polluted Delta with Klothys and adds an additional green mana. He then casts a Garruk Wild Speaker, uses him to untap 2 lands, and passes to Baal. Baal plays a Plateau. He taps his non-basic lands and casts Merchant Scroll, revealing Mystical Tutor. He passes to me. I play a second island and try to cast Rhystic Study without protection. My reasoning was that Baal had an untapped land when Klothys resolved. Since Klothys allowed Gonçalo for potentially explosive turns, I doubted that Baal would have a Swan Song at hand. I was wrong, and the study gets countered, giving me a bird token and leaving me sad. I attack the Garruk, dealing 1 damage to it, before passing to Luis. Luis plays a basic swamp and goes to combat. He chooses to attack Baal once again. Yuriko deals damage and Luis reveals a Fairy Seer, once again dealing a single point of damage. He casts the Seer, scrying 2 and leaving 1 of the cards on top of his library. At the end of his turn, Gonçalo casts a Crop Rotation and sacrificing a forest. Luis counters it with a Mental Misstep, losing 2 life for the Phyrexian mana. Gonçalo goes to his turn a bit unsatisfied. On his pre-combat main phase, he uses Klothys to exile Baal's Scalding Tarn and produce green mana. He then uses his Birds of Paradise, lands, and Garruk to generate 6 mana and cast Woodland Bellower. The Bellower enters the battlefield and Gonçalo searches for an Imperial Recruiter. When the Recruiter enters the battlefield, it also triggers and Gonçalo searches for a Kiki-Jiki. With Klothys now a creature, Gonçalo chooses to attack Luís since he knows Yuriko will be working to lowering both mine and Baal's hit points. Luís jump blocks with his Ornithopter. Gonçalo passes, missing a land drop. Baal untaps and passes, also missing a land drop. On my turn, I play another basic island. I attack the Garruk with my bird token before passing. Luís goes to his turn and immediately begins his combat phase. He attacks Garruk with the Fairy Seer and Baal with Yuriko. The Seer is unblocked and Luís swaps it with a Mist Syndicate Naga to take down the Planeswalker. He takes 1 damage from the City of Brass. Luís was a real man of the people here, considering he could have tried to get 2 Yuriko triggers instead of setting Gonçalo behind. Yuriko damages Baal, triggering and revealing an island. On his second main phase, Luís plays the revealed island and recasts the Fairy Seer. With the Scry, he decides to put both cards on the bottom of his library and pass. With his Klothys trigger, Gonçalo decides to exile Baal's Merchant Scroll, dealing 2 damage to each of us and gaining 2 life. He then taps all his mana to cast Ramunap Excavator to try and get back in the game. Gonçalo plays a forest from his graveyard and goes to combat. He keeps the pressure on Luís with both Klothys and the Woodland Bellower. Luís jump blocks Klothys with his Seer and takes 6 damage. Gonçalo passes the turn. On his end step, Baal casts Mystical Tutor and searches for a Rolling Earthquake to try and stop the aggro a bit. On his turn, Baal plays a City of Brass and casts Rolling Earthquake for 3, so as to also take the Ramunap Excavator out of the game. It resolves and the board is cleared of all creatures except for the Woodland Bellower and Klothys that is no longer a creature. We all take 3 damage. Baal passes. On my turn, I play Cascade Bluffs and cast my commander, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I go to combat and win 1 roll drawing a card. I pass to Luís. Luís draws and passes the turn. He's being suspiciously passive. Gonçalo goes to his first main phase, triggering Klothys. He exiles the Mist Syndicate Naga and we all take 2 damage while he gains 2. Then, he attacks Baal with the Woodland Bellower. On his second main phase, Gonçalo plays a Bloom Tender and passes. Baal uses his turn to cast an Ethereal Sculptor and pass to me, leaving 2 lands untapped. Now that I'm playing, I also put a City of Brass onto the battlefield before going to combat. Xena the Warrior Priestess triggers and Brandão preemptively casts an Ocean Thief, annoying me. I half-heartedly throw the dice for Xena and lose the roll, not letting Brandão draw any cards. Then, I decide to motivate people to kill him by casting Okaun and threatening letting him draw a stupid amount of cards during my next turn. I pass. Luís starts his turn by casting the Artificer's Assistant. He also casts Slither Blade to try and have as many blockers up as possible, seeing as I put a target on his face. He passes. On his first main phase, Gonçalo exiles Baal's Mystical Tutor to the Klothys trigger. He then plays a mountain and taps 5 mana to cast Kiki-Jiki. Because it can copy the Woodland Bellower, Gonçalo would have a chance to win this turn, so Baal counters it with a counterspell, losing 1 life to the City of Brass. Gonçalo enters combat. I explain to him that right now Luís is drawing more cards than anyone else, and even if Gonçalo attacks me and I sacrifice Okaun, nothing is changing the fact that both Notion Thief and Yuriko can set Luís ahead. He agrees and attacks Luís, who chooses to take 6 damage. Gonçalo lets Baal go to his turn. Baal plays a Mox Diamond, discarding an island. He then casts Elsha. He loses 1 life to the City of Brass and passes. On my turn, I play an Academy Ruins. Then, I decide to try something different, mostly out of ignorance of what Luís has in his deck. I cast a Frenetic Sliver, followed by a Thassa's Oracle, both of which resolve. With the Oracle's trigger on the stack, I activate the Sliver. I respond to that activation with another activation, and so on until I have a million activations on the stack. My idea is to kill Luís with his own Notion Thief and then win with the Oracle. This decision, however, created a really weird situation. When my first activation of the Sliver resolved, I rolled the dice and won, triggering my commanders, Okaun and the Prince of Bel-Air. Then, we assume that the number of times I chose to roll the dice is enough for Luís to draw his entire library. When he is only 1 card away from dying, Luís chooses to respond to the stack. He taps both lands and casts the Till's End on my Oracle's trigger. I respond and cast Flusterstorm, having a total of 4 copies on the stack. Luís exiles an Arcane Lab from his end and casts Misdirection, forcing one of my Flusterstorms to counter the other. He also responds to that, exiling a Far Away and casting Force of Negation on another of my Flusterstorms. At this point, I'm getting a bit triggered by the sheer amount of free spells he is sporting, and I haven't even seen all of them. I respond and lose 2 life to cast Mental Misstep on my misdirected Flusterstorm. Brandão exiles a Dig Through Time and loses 1 life, casting Force of Will on my Mental Misstep. The stack is so ridiculous right now. Luis finalizes with a mind break trap once he realizes I still had one Flusterstorm on the stack and finishing the stack war once and for all. My Oracle trigger is countered, and so we're back to resolving my Sliver's draw triggers with the Notion Thief and my Prince of Bel-Air still on the battlefield. Brandão casts a Submerge, targeting his own Notion Thief, so that he's no longer forced to draw his entire library. He then lets me start drawing, but not before casting Snuff Out on my Okaun, just in case I find a way to attack with him for lethal commander damage. At this point, we all noticed that maybe Brandão could have made me kill myself with this play. Worse yet, the last stack war was so unnerving that I'm more worried about stopping myself from dying to my draws than I am about winning. Not long after finding a solution to kill my commander Prince of Bel-Air, I stopped drawing from my deck and prevent myself from winning this turn with a Laboratory Maniac or a Jace. I eventually find enough free counters to try and tap my City of Brass for red and cast Red Elemental Blast on my own Prince of Bel-Air. The other flip a coin triggers on the stack become irrelevant, so we skip them. Because I know Luis won't lose the next turn, I need to undo the damage I dealt while setting myself ahead. I cast Mana Crypt and Chrome Mox, exiling a Dak Phaeton from my hand. Ironically, I could have used the Dak Phaeton to force Luis to draw his last 2 cards from his library, but I'm still too stressed out and self-focused to notice this. I cast a Soul Ring and a Mana Vault. I use Gitaxian Probe on Baal and see an LED and the Dramatic Reversal combo, which means that he too could become a problem if he finds an outlet before hitting a land with Elsha. I draw a card from the Probe, I cast Manifold Key with a Mana Vault and use it to untap the Vault once more. I cast an EZ Signet, use it to generate mana, and cast Faithless Looting. I discard an Echo of Eons and a Mountain. I tap the Mana Vault again for a Talisman of Creativity. I tap the Mox and generate 1 blue mana to cast a Mystic Remora and use the Talisman of Creativity to flash back my Echo of Eons and try to be set while having everyone else at least not as advanced in the board as I am. I go to my end step and the Sliver returns to the battlefield. On his turn, Luis plays an island. He decides he needs to try and stop me, so he casts Mystical Tutor and searches for a Scheming Symmetry, mostly to convince Gonçalo to get a Bane of Progress with it. I draw a card from the Remora. Luis attacks me with the Slither Blade and puts Yuriko in play thanks to ninjutsu. She deals damage to me and Luis draws the Scheming Symmetry, making all of us lose 1 life. Luis is then damaged by his City of Brass and casts the Symmetry, warning Gonçalo that if he tries to search for a win con instead of a Bane of Progress, he'll just be conceding to either me or Baal. I draw another card from the Mystic Remora. Luis fetches for a Secret Snuff Out while Gonçalo is a man of his word and gets a Bane of Progress. Luis casts Slither Blade and passes the turn. Gonçalo goes to his pre-combat main phase and claws his triggers. He exiles Luis's Mystical Tutor. Then, he plays a basic Mountain. He taps his mana and plays a Kiki-Jiki instead of a Bane of Progress. Luis feels betrayed, although Gonçalo does show him that he did tutor the Bane as promised. Still, Baal and I pass priority, and Luis, true to his word, casts a Force of Will by exiling a Treasure Cruise. My Remora triggers. Gonçalo responds to the trigger and casts Red Elemental Blast, triggering my Remora once again. Luis then responds and casts Misdirection, triggering my fish a 3rd time and exiling a Mental Misstep. I try and convince Luis that we will definitely lose to Elsha if he doesn't destroy her with the Elemental Blast, but he is too afraid of my Sliver even though I need my commander MacGyver and a payoff to win the game. I respond to the Red Elemental Blast by activating the Sliver. I lose the flip and sacrifice the creature. Kiki-Jiki gets countered and I draw 3 cards. Gonçalo attacks me with the Bellower and he passes to Baal. Baal draws and plays Wear Tear on my Remora. I draw a card and it dies. He plays an LED from the top of his library. He plays an Arid Missa and uses it to fetch for a Tundra. He casts a Sol Ring from his hand. Then, Baal casts a Dockside Extortionist and puts 8 treasures in play. He uses 2 of them to cast a Counterbalance. Finally, he uses another 2 and casts a Transmute Artifact, sacrificing a Sol Ring, and the game is over. With the Ethereal Sculptor in play, Baal gets a Sensei's Divining Top and is able to draw his entire library while casting the top multiple times. He is then able to do a lot of things, namely cast the Dramatic Reverse for infinite mana and infinite spells, which he uses to cast a Grape Shot that kills us all. Now that the video is over, we'll explain our mistake. Basically, when I was researching this deck a year ago, I saw plenty of lists running both Frenetic Ifrit and Frenetic Sliver. Although they do appear to be similar, only the Ifrit can allow for infinite coin flips. This is because you can activate the Ifrit and respond to the activation and activate it again and so on. The ability will resolve regardless of the Ifrit being dead or phased out. The Sliver, however, needs to be in play in order for the coin flip to happen, so it is actually a dead card with these partners. When I showed the combo, we all thought this card was like the Ifrit, but with a blink effect instead of phasing as the fix. Still, this was a pretty cool game and we wanted to show it to you. Thanks for following us through this match, everyone. Baal is raid bossing us. We'd like to start the credits by thanking our current patrons, and especially Izanagi, Carneiro, Troy, Stefan, and TJ Rapp, our stack rakers. We also want to thank Ariano Porto for supporting us with the DCI cryptic command that we will be randomly giving away between our patrons this March 15. Support us by becoming a patron and a chance to get this card. If you want to go through other Commander adventures, click one of the videos on the right. If you want to talk with us about our games or other EDH related matters, join us on Discord. Come join us again next week for a new set of Commanders and more decisive plays. See you then!